Well, hello, sports fans, and welcome back to another edition of Sports on the Spot. My name is Willie Charger, and today I'm here to talk sports. Nick James isn't going to be with us this morning. He had a prior commitment, some silly excuse about getting married this weekend. And we hope to see Nick again soon. Not sure, because you know how the married life can change a man's lifestyle. But not to worry, we have a guest correspondent, Raider Naj, who's going to be here and give us some insight on what's going up in Las Vegas with Raider Nation. There are a lot of things going on in the sports world these days. NBA training camps opening up. You got the Major League Baseball season coming to a close down the last week. But I'm here to talk the NFL, and in particular, talk about what's going on in the AFC West. It seems like all of the preseason contenders are now being viewed as pretenders, and all of the preseason pretenders are now seen as legitimate playoff contenders. So surprising to say that the Philadelphia Eagles and the Miami Dolphins are the only undefeated teams in the NFL, while teams like the Tennessee Titans and the Chiefs and other teams aren't doing so well. And speaking of teams that aren't doing so well, I have to begin my show by talking about the struggling Los Angeles Chargers. It's been a rough 3 weeks for the Chargers. They've gone off to a 1-2 start. And there's a lot of reasons explaining what's going on with the Chargers. And I think the best way to begin would be to talk about their injuries. We've had some terrible injuries that have taken place on both sides of the line. Last weekend, we lost our All-Pro left tackle, Rayshawn Slater, for the season with a torn bicep. That's a huge loss for the Chargers, given that the left tackle is the tackle that protects the quarterback, Justin Herbert's blind spot. We'll see how that works out, but you just don't find a left tackle walking around unemployed to come in and fill in the NFL. On the other side of the ball, the Chargers also lost their All-Pro rush defender, Joey Bosa. He's going to have surgery on his groin, and they're saying he might come back before the season starts, but things aren't looking good for the Chargers. Making even things worse, of course, is that their quarterback, Justin Herbert, is going to continue to struggle with this rib cartilage injury that is not going to go away soon. So right now, things are looking pretty bad. They're off to a 1-2 start. You read some of these Charger fan sites, and the fans are already calling for Brandon Staley's head, that something needs to be done with the head coach. Sean Payton's out there. Let's bring in Sean Payton, and he'll turn things around. There's other fans who are putting the blame on the offensive coordinator, Joe Lombardi. He's too conservative. He doesn't try to throw the ball deep. All of these short passes aren't getting the Chargers anywhere, and they simply cannot run the ball. So things aren't looking very good right now with the Chargers. They have a big game coming up this weekend at Houston. And when the season first started, I thought it was going to be an easy win for the Chargers. But looking at how things are right now, I'm not so sure about that. I could cry all day about what's going on with the Chargers, but there's another team that is actually doing worse than the Chargers, and I'm talking about the Las Vegas Raiders, who are off to a 0-3 start. To give us some insight on what's going on in Raider Nation, I have a guest correspondent that's going to join us this morning, Raider Naj. Welcome to the show, Raj. Naj, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Willie Charger. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, it's tough going here in Raider Nation right now. I have to admit, 0-3 is definitely not what anyone expected us to be right now. So what's happening right now is there's a lot of looking in the mirror. After the game, there was a closed door meeting between Mark Davis and Ziegler, the general manager, and McDaniels. I would have loved to be a fly on the wall in that meeting to see what was going on. Man, they're lucky it was a Mark and not Al, because things would have been flying in that room. We are not happy in Raider Nation right now. There are many, many reasons that why we are 0-3 right now. The first one is, the big name players aren't living up to their contracts right now. You have Renfrow, who fumbled twice on that last drive on Arizona, ultimately losing us the game on the last fumble. That was the Arizona game. Waller really had a bad game against in our last game. he had really poor effort on one really long a pass that could have been a touchdown. He went with it for one. He went with one hand rather than trying to, just catch for it. Get us the big gain, keep us moving. And then he compounds two other big mistakes. He runs the wrong route in the end zone, and steals the ball from Davante Adams that was clearly going to him. He dives for it, basically goes off his finger. We lose a touchdown there. Then at the end of the game, in the fourth quarter, when we're making our comeback, Carr puts it perfectly in his hands, and it goes right off his hands and tips into the end zone for an interception. And that was essentially game at that point. We made a game of it. I was really happy to be in the game at the end. But then, where is this, mastermind McDaniels? 19 points, two 19-point efforts and a 22-point effort. That's not going to cut it in the league. And he was supposed to have this red zone kind of strategy, and I haven't seen it yet. I don't know what it is. They haven't run the ball in the red zone, which Jacobs has been, gashing 5-6 yards a carry. You got to go to the well when you're down there in the red zone. Keep them honest. Carr.
It sounds like your head coach, like the Charger head coach, is already on the hot seat, and there's only been 3 games that have been played. I don't think that you can really put it all on the head coach, but like you say, players have to step up and do their job, and it doesn't seem like that's happening. What about Davante Adams? I've been reading down here in the LA Times that he's unhappy with the Raiders, that he regrets leaving Green Bay. What's the word on that? Is he what's going on with Davante Adams?
I've read those tea leaves. I don't necessarily want to read into them too much at this point in time. No one's happy at 0-3. I don't think, obviously he said he was angry and frustrated. Of course he's going to be angry and frustrated. We're 0-3. Everyone's angry and frustrated. They overused him in game 1. Carr only looked at him. He had 10 catches for like 150 yards. Great game, but he was just zoning in on Davante. Then the next 2 games, he's barely involved. So they have to find the balance here of getting him involved, but also using him as a decoy at times. I went back and looked at some film from the last game, and Carr definitely missed him on multiple throws where he was wide open, where I think he was just going to where the play was called. So there's this kind of this notion out there that I kind of believe in, that, Carr's trying to please McDaniels, go to where his first read is, but not really surveying the field or having a full grasp of the offense. It doesn't feel like he has a full grasp of the offense yet. But Davante, he's going to get his. He's going to bring the professionalism. He's going to bring, that top 5 wide receiver talent. We have to figure out how to use him best, and mix him in with the other players. He just signed a huge contract. He's not going anywhere. We're not letting him go. I know that.
You mentioned the quarterback, Derek Carr. How would you assess his performance so far this year? Would you put the blame on him?
I think Raider Nation is, I'm not on that narrative as much as other people in the Raider Nation are about Carr. I think, if you look at what he did when he had Michael Crabtree and, sorry, I'm blanking on the other player right now, but he had 2 really good receivers at one point. He did really well. When he has good players around him, he does really well. I don't think it's fair to put it on him. The offensive line has been mediocre at best. The defensive line, our defense hasn't gotten any pressure on the quarterback whatsoever. Chandler Jones is a ghost. I don't know what he's been doing on the field.
Sounds like the Chargers. The Charger defensive line cannot pressure the quarterback. And again, losing Bosa, that's not going to help them at all. They never mentioned Khalil Mack's name the last game I saw. And so, yeah, if you want to really win in the NFL, you have to have a defense that's going to be able to dominate. And right now, I don't see either the Raiders or the Chargers having that going on with them. Now, I know the Raiders have a big game coming up against, I think, the Broncos this weekend, right? One win and in the division, and maybe people start, getting off the coaches back. You think they have a chance to beat the Broncos?
I do. if it was up, if it was up to me, Raiders are going to go 17-0. But that's the Raider fan in me. But obviously, yeah, I think we have a very good chance of winning this week. If we don't, pretty much our season's over. I 0-3. We still have a couple percentage chances to make the playoffs. So you're saying there's a chance, but 0-4 would be, the end of our season. I think Russ has been struggling. The offense in Denver has been struggling, but they have a great running back, which I'm really worried about with Javonte. We saw what Derrick Henry did to us. So basically, if we don't stop Javonte, it could be a long day for us. But
you mentioned Russell Wilson. There's another underperforming player that some people are really, really disappointed with. Even Tom Brady, people are saying, "Wow, what happened to him? Is he over the hill now?" So it's not just the Raiders and the Chargers that are having some players that aren't, living up to their contracts, but you got teams like Denver who pretty much invested everything to get Russell Wilson, and so far he hasn't been the turnaround player that they thought that they were getting. I'm okay with that as a Charger fan. I'm sure you probably are okay too as a Raider fan, but it is good to see that there's other teams that are having problems. I mean, like you say, it's 17 game season. We still have 14 to go. Anything can happen.
Yeah, I think I was, I'm concerned that Russ is going to have his coming out party against us, because he had really mediocre games up until this point. They're under a sense of urgency to get that offense rolling. Obviously we're under a sense of urgency just to get the win. So it should be a really great game, I think.
Where is the game? Is it going to be in Denver or is it in Las Vegas?
It's in Vegas. We got a home game. We have Denver this week at home, and then I think we travel on the road to Kansas City next. So 2 big games coming up for the Raider Nation. We got to win both. If we win both, we're actually not in bad shape, being that the rest of the teams in the division are not faring as well. I think
you mentioned the Chiefs. I mean, the mighty Patrick Mahomes was shut out in their most recent game against the Indianapolis Colts. So nothing's etched in stone right now. I mean, I think it's still wide open. I think any team at this point can still win the division, but unfortunately, the AFC West is not turning out to be the great strong division that most of the preseason prognosticators were talking about. In fact, they're kind of seen as a kind of a weak division right now, with all the losses that are starting to pile up in Denver, of course, Las Vegas, and the Chargers in LA. Any final comments to give us on what's going on with the Raiders?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think definitely we need to get the offense going. We need to score more than 22 points a game. So I would like to see them, start to run the ball more and do more play action off the run, establish the run early, get a lead early, and then hold on to it. We haven't really done that, and we had the 20-0 lead against Arizona, but other than that, we've been behind. So I'm really looking forward to see what McDaniels can do with this offense. 3 weeks in, we were getting, we didn't have a lot of starters play in the preseason. So I'm really hoping they're going to start to gel this week, and we're going to see a nice run here for the Raiders. Otherwise, we'll be at home during the playoffs.
One of the bright spots I saw in the Raider game against the Chargers was the play of that defensive end, Crosby. He seems to have continued his excellent play coming over from this past year. So I do see some bright spots here on the Raiders defense, especially guys like Crosby. And even though you say they didn't get much of a rush on the quarterback last weekend, they have a pretty solid defensive line with that guy Chandler. All he has to do is start, stepping up and doing what they're supposed to do. Not that I want them to step up and do what they want to do. I'm perfectly happy with the Raiders continuing to lose, which I'm sure you're happy with the Chargers losing too. So that's what makes being an NFL fan so much fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, anytime the AFC West division foe loses, you're happy, and especially since we're 0-3. we've needed these losses from the other AFC West teams. I'm really, about your Chargers. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with Bear. I mean, how does that, the rib cartilage injury, how long does that linger?
All season. It's not going away.
Slater and then losing Bosa and losing. I mean, you guys lost so many. The injury bug seems to hit you guys every year, at least the last few years.
I think a lot of it has to do with their strength and conditioning. I don't know who their coach is there, but you're right. You have all this talent, and yet they're just watching the game from the sidelines because they're always injured. It's a recurring problem for the Chargers year in and year out, and that's one of the big complaints you constantly hear from Charger fans. How come they're not in shape? Why are they always hurt? Why can't we always have our best players out on the field? So, yeah, not to make any excuses, but injuries certainly are a part of the game, and if you can't be healthy, it's your own fault. I'm sorry. Yeah. So we'll have to come back and see what's happening there.
Well, hopefully Keenan Allen this week, you're getting him back. So I think that's a huge addition to the offense. I think you're going to bring more balance to the offense for you guys, hopefully Bear is feeling a little bit better. We'll see.
Yeah, I think having Allen out has definitely hurt the quarterback. He is, after all, his number one receiver. And without him, it's really, really tough. He doesn't have time to throw the ball deep. And so they have to rely on a lot of their, slants and short passes. And that just isn't happening. So we'll see what happens this upcoming weekend.
Yeah.
Hey, Naj, I wanted to thank you for checking in with us. I really appreciate your insights, even though you are a Raider fan. You're okay with me. I hope to have you coming back in future episodes, and maybe when we see you again, the Raiders might have won a game or two. We'll have to see about that.
One can hope, Mr. Willie Charger. We'll see. Thank you so much for having me on the show. Really enjoyed being on Sports on the Spot. Really appreciate it.
Okay, we'll check in with you soon. Thanks a lot.
Take care.
Well, that's going to be it for today's episode of Sports on the Spot. I wanted to thank all of our viewers for watching, reminding everybody that it's never too late to like and comment and subscribe to the show. It's very, very easy to do. And also to tell people that we are still taking Sports on the Spot questions. So if you have a question for any of our analysts to answer, just send it in to the Sports on the Spot show at gmail.com. And we will get back to those questions as soon as we can. Otherwise, that's going to be it for today's episode. Once again, I want to thank Raider Naj for being here with us today, and say goodbye to everybody. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time.
Unbelievable.